Thank you so much for being here with us tonight, and we're going to begin with that opportunity for a minute statement, or an opening statement. And alphabetically, we will begin with Sheila Brilson.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'm so glad to see a packed room. This is an important election, and your vote is going to be really important to all of us and to our county. So I want to talk a little bit about my background. I want to tell you a few little stories tonight. My name is Sheila Brilson. I have sat in this chair before, and it feels really good to be back here. I started in 1986 as a city council member, and I was 28 years old, right here in this seat. So experience matters. And as an experienced leader in both government and business, I bring a lot of my talents and my heart to this position. I've been a LaPorte County resident for 30 years. I've raised my family here. This is my home. And yes, I did leave, but you know what? I came back because I miss this community. I want to bring my skills, my talent, my intellect, my integrity, and my common sense approach to county government. I've done it before, and I can do it again. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheila. And Connie, please, opening statement.
Hi, I'm Connie Grammarosa, and even though I'm your current commissioner, I am not a politician. I have not served before, and it is my first time running. I have been a businesswoman all my life. I've owned several different businesses. I moved to LaPorte County. I bought a 40-acre farm for which I was going to start a vineyard. Got bored. I decided to buy a commercial piece of property. I now own Bella's Barn in Michigan City. I've seen a lot of things out in front of the store that I just wasn't happy with. I had a young girl OD in front of my store. And as I started getting active in the community, I decided that I could run and maybe I could perhaps make a difference. And that's why I am where I'm at right now. I think owning your own business, you have to be fiscally responsible. And I had to come up with a plan, and I had to follow through with it. And that's why I'm running.
Okay, thank you, Connie. Let's begin now with the questions from the audience. We'll start with Sheila on this one. If you had to identify what you believe the most important issue facing LaPorte County is, what would it be, and what would you do to address that issue?
That's a great question. Jobs, jobs, and jobs. Economic development, seeking new jobs and helping our companies grow is critical to the success and health of our county. We need to make sure there are jobs, not only for people who live here now, but for our children and for our grandchildren, so that they can live here and enjoy our superior quality of life. I started the Michigan City Economic Development Corporation, which is now the EDCMC. We had great success. We made a one-stop shop for economic development. We figured out incentives. We worked as a team. The city team worked together to make sure that when a company needed to grow, they could come to us as a resource and we could help them. We also went out and brought new companies in. I've done it before. I can do it again.
Thank you, Sheila. And Connie, may I ask you that same question? The biggest issue you feel facing LaPorte County, and what will you do to address that issue?
I think that when I decided to run, there were three issues that I was looking at. One was the drug problem. Secondly, the growth of LaPorte. And thirdly, infrastructure. And once I was in office, I realized that no matter what you want to do, it's not I. It becomes we. You have to work with all the departments. You have to be able to work with the council, because no matter what you want, the bottom line is you have to be able to work with the council and get it funded. When people come to my office and they have issues, I can't solve it by myself. I have to work with the different departments, I have to find out what their problems are, and we have to solve them together. And there's been quite a few people that have come in with some simple things, and we've been able to resolve fairly quickly. But there's others that we're still working on it. And so I just think it's a combined effort. And we are moving this county forward.
Okay, thank you, Connie. We have some questions now that have been directed to individual members of the panel here, so I'll start with one for Sheila. You left office in Michigan City to be closer to your family. Per the internet, you have relatives in Illinois, Kentucky, Pennsylvania, Texas, and Washington. Will you commit tonight, if elected, that you will go the distance this time and finish your term of office?
That's a great question. I didn't know I had any relatives in Kentucky, but that's, hey, I have a big family. Great question. I'm glad to talk about that. So I served this community for 15 and a half years. I was in 8 elections. This will be my 9th election. Lot of service. I served on boards and commissions, the Plan Commission, the Zoning Board as a volunteer. I served this community, and there came a time when I was ready to not be a public figure anymore, not run for an election. I decided with my family to do something else with the next chapter of my life. My kids needed me, and so Chuck Oberle was the next mayor. He was ready to take over. He and I worked lockstep to get a transition plan. The city was in the black. We had jobs growing. Everything was ready to go, and I was a lame duck mayor. Anyone who knows me knows I'm not really good at lame duck anything. I like to do things full throttle. So as I sat and waited, my family needed me. I wanted my girls to start school in the new school in August. I'm a teacher and a mom, and that job was important to me. And so I made the choice for my family. It's a choice that I'm proud of. Yes, I am here for the duration. I live here, and I will be here till the cows come home.
Thank you, Sheila. Now, Connie, a question for you. If elected, will you continue to vote with Commissioner Mrozinski on his agenda, or will you be independent? Are there any issues on which you disagree?
I think that if you looked at the tapes, you would see that we do not vote the same way. I think that if you would go to Alco TV and look at the commissioner meetings, which are ran twice a month, you will find that I disagree with both my commissioners on many different issues. I'm a free thinker. I'm not a career politician like they are. So the way I'll vote, I'm always looking at the perspective of a businesswoman. There have been things that they have tried to pass, and they've passed it, but not with my vote. Lending money to private companies is something that I will always vote against. I will not vote for that. I believe it's the taxpayers' money. I'm not a career politician. I'm treating this job as if it was my own money. I'm not going to be wasteful.
Thank you, Connie. Now, a question for Sheila, if I may. Explain how you are going to control and manage the spending of the county's money.
That's a great question. So serving in the city of Michigan City, fiscal control and fiscal responsibility was important. I'm a taxpayer just like everyone else, and making sure that our county spends their dollars carefully is really important. I believe in efficiency. Talking to Mr. Novak, the council president, we've already been discussing ways that we can be more efficient, ways that we can do better at strategic planning so that we make sure that we are saving the taxpayers' dollars. Anyone who remembers back in the day, the city team, we examined every dollar. We rebid things that had not been contracted out before. We were looking to save the dollars because you know what? You want to run the county or your government just like you run your own household. You don't need coupons in particular, but there are ways to save money, and that's what I'm all about.
Thank you, Sheila. Now a question for Connie. There is a county courthouse in Michigan City with many offices. And on 8th and Wabash Street, a branch of the Treasurer's Office and the Assessor's Office. Can the auditor be as accessible in Michigan City at least one day a week or even one day a month?
You're asking if I could get the auditor, an elected official, to come to a different building?
The question is, yes, the question cites the fact that we have several county officials that have office hours in Michigan City, but the auditor does not, and they're asking whether that might be possible either one day a week or one day a month.
Well, I can tell you as a commissioner, we cannot tell other elected officials what to do. that would be a question that you could definitely call our office, whoever asked the question. It's a good question, but ask that elected official if she would come over to a different office to be accessible for you.
And now a question for Sheila. Do you support double track through Michigan City? And if so, which route would you support? And please explain why.
That's a detailed question. I do support the double track project. I think it opens our area up to some great potential. I think it has to be carefully planned, those transportation zones in particular that are affected by the train development. We have to watch that very carefully because our taxpayers need to be protected. There are some properties that their use will be changed. Some of those owners are very happy about that. Some are not so happy. So I think that with public hearings and some of that process, it will be important to watch that. The question about the routes, I have to say I would want to know a little bit more about that before I answer that question. The routes that are currently planned, there's one that will shoot off towards Dyer, and I think that should be a secondary route because it's the critical mass is not there, but I think the route between here and South Bend, I think double tracking will be an extraordinary tool. There's a lot of people, we think it's for somebody else that we're building this. It's really our own people who use that transportation system.
Okay. Thank you, Sheila. Now, a question for both of you, and we'll begin with Connie, if we may. Can you suggest ways to increase efficiency, transparency, and effectiveness in county government? And would you support a study of ways to improve those things?
I believe that we could probably do quite a few things a little bit differently. I think that the studies would be good. You know, we can go ahead and we can have someone come in and survey the people and find out what they need or what it is that they want. But the bottom line is, as commissioners, we're accessible. We're there. I know that I can tell you that I spend at least 8 hours at my office. I'm out in the community in the evenings. You can always contact me via phone. I'm out there. If I get phone calls, I'll go out and I'll meet people. If I don't have the answer that you're looking for, I will take your number down and I will definitely get back to you and get you the information that you need.
Thank you, Connie. And Sheila, the same question. Can you suggest ways to increase efficiency, transparency, and effectiveness in county government? And would you support a study of ways to do that?
I definitely can think of ways that would increase transparency. Those of you that followed the waste management hearing recently, there was a perfect example. In the county, public comment is held before the issues are discussed. That is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. So when an issue, a resolution, or a project is being discussed, the public is allowed to speak at the front end of the meeting, and then the facts come forward in the presentation. So you are not informed as a county taxpayer what's going to be discussed, and you are not permitted to speak when the item is heard. In Michigan City, that would never fly. Michigan City people are used to being able to have public comment in regards to each item on the agenda. So there's a chance to be more transparent. We also don't produce documents that are going to be voted on in the county before they're voted on. Who ever heard of that? The taxpayers have people making decisions and they haven't actually seen the document that's going to be discussed. So I don't think we need a study. I'm not real big on studies. I'm big on practical solutions and common sense answers, and I think we can do a lot with just using our brains. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sheila. Next question. We've got many choices here, so I'm trying to get one that's going to be a little different. Let's take the question on, would you support a LaPorte County initiative to conduct a county-wide strategic visioning and planning process to be paid for by joint public-private collaboration? Connie, may we begin with you on that question?
That was a yes or no for the last group. Is it yes and no for us?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, okay. Sarah, Sheila.
I'll make sure.
My answer would be yes with qualifications. I don't like studies to sit on shelves, so if it's going to be a study that has practical objectives and goals that we can act on, actionable items, then I think that I would say yes.
Thank you. Question is, from both of you, can you give us more information on the bypass of LaPorte City, and do you support it? And Sheila, we'll begin with you with that question, if we may.
So that's a great question, and one that I need to know more about. There are factions involved where there are some citizens that are for the bypass and some that are against the bypass. I've driven the property. I really want to get a handle on that, so when we have public hearings, I think that will be a really important place for the county council, the public, the commissioners to all get together and really dissect that project. That's been on the planning board for a very long time. We need to get that traffic out of the downtown area. There's huge semis that hold up traffic that are pouring through LaPorte City. There's got to be a solution that it won't make everyone happy. That's just the way things fall. But we want to make sure that we're sensitive to people and to really try to make the best choice for the most number of people.
Thank you, Connie, please.
Okay, I don't think that it's on the planning board. I serve on the planning board, and it has not came to us. The bypass, or the economic corridor, is in the study process. We have a couple different roads and passages that we're looking at, but nothing can be done. Just like everything else, we have to make sure that what we're putting in is environmentally safe for the areas that we're putting them in through. These are areas that we have not studied yet, and they're areas that we really need to look into. We want to make sure that nature is preserved, the wetlands are preserved, and that we are not going through a lot of people's property. So it's something that is definitely in the study process, but it's something that we have to definitely look at very carefully.
Thank you, Connie. Now a question for each of you, a rather simple one. Define not being a politician. So, Sheila, maybe again with you, please.
That's really a great question. You know, the word politician is almost like, you know, a big tag that you're a bad person. So I'm a big believer that politicians are just you and I. Someone has to help the taxpayer dollars be spent correctly, and that person has to be elected. That's the way our democracy works. I'm really proud. John F. Kennedy said public service politics is a noble profession because you're doing the work of the people. I have to say, my experience is that most people in public life are good people. They want to do the best. Some of us are more skilled at it than others, perhaps, but my experience is being a politician is not a bad thing. We all try to avoid that name tag, and we call ourselves public servants. It's the same thing. So, you know, I don't have a heavy distrust because my experience has been most of the people that I've been involved in public life for a while. I haven't been a lifelong politician because I was a teacher. I was a school teacher, and I got into politics just because I wanted to help my community and do the right thing. I've been out of it for 15 years, so I don't know if I qualify as a lifelong one, but I consider myself a servant for the people. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheila. Connie, please. How do you define not being a politician?
I believe that there are people that make careers out of public service. And it's something that we really complain about on the federal level. And it works right down to the local level. You can be a public servant and you can serve your time and do what you think is right for the people. And I think that in my situation, being in business, I'm at an age where I can give to the community. I can assure you that I won't make a career out of it, though.
Thank you, Connie. Next question. If you're elected, or re-elected, as the case may be, what will you do to receive input from the voters in LaPorte County and communicate with the voters? And Connie, may we begin with you on that question, please?
I will continue to do what I've been doing, being accessible to the people. My office is always open. One of the things that we changed even under this administration is that commissioner's office door is always open. And there's always someone there to receive phone calls, to receive people. I'm in that office, and you can come there, you can visit me, you can bring any problem you want. There are people that come in just to look at the maps, to look at the different things that we have going on throughout the county. When we talk about transparency, I think that I'm pretty transparent. When people come in with problems, I will either pull out my drawer and whether it was talking about the new intersection that we're putting in at 2 and 20. I've had probably about 15, 20 people come into my office and look at that map, and we've discussed it. Everything's pretty transparent. You know, if you can't get it on the website, you can always come into the office and you can see pretty much anything that you would like to see.
Thank you, Connie. Sheila, on that question, how will you go about receiving input from the voters, and how will you communicate with the voters if you're elected commissioner?
So I'm the daughter of a man who taught me a really great skill. My dad was a millwright and started out his profession as sweeping floors, became a millwright, and then worked his way up in a company. And as a college girl, I walked around with him while I was waiting to go home at the end of my workday. And he showed me something called management by walking around. He knew every single person in his factory. He knew something about each one of those people. To me, that's the best kind of management. So my style of management and getting input from people is not expecting them to come to me, but me to go to them. So, you know, go to Wanata and talk to people. Go to Rolling Prairie and talk to people. Go to Westville and talk to people. So my goal is to use technology in a smart way, make sure that people have all access to all of my my numbers, my contact information, and then make sure that I'm not expecting them to come to me, but that when they need something, we make ourselves readily available so that they can let their voice be heard. I'm a really good listener and a really good problem solver. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheila. Now, questions again for both of you. How will you support strong ethical standards and procedures in your office and in general in local government offices? May we begin with you on that one, Sheila?
Sure. So ethics is really an important thing in government. You have my word that under my watch, I would not be hiring relatives. I would not be making sure relatives got contracts or business with the county. I'm straight up. I believe in honesty, integrity, doing the right thing for all the people. Ethics is your word, it is your honor. I can promise you that one of the reasons I'm very happy to come back to service if the voters choose me is that I don't have to look over my shoulder. I don't take orders from anyone. I will be the voice of the people, and I will try always to listen to people and do the right thing on your behalf. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheila. The next question. Will you help to expand high-speed internet access to rural areas that are not currently served in LaPorte County? And Connie, may we begin with you on that question, please?
I would love to do that because in Rolling Prairie, I don't have high-speed internet. This is something that is not a local issue. This is really a state issue. You know, we can advocate and we can talk to our officials, but the reality is this is going to be an issue that has to be expanded out and worked with many different entities.
Okay, thank you. And Sheila, please.
So I think that's a great opportunity for us to increase our relationships with our state office holders and our federal office holders so that we make sure that we're bringing those tax dollars back. Infrastructure around technology, it isn't just a luxury anymore. It's an essential, especially for our schools. So we want to be sure that we're making our and I see a state legislator back there, so that we work on building really strong relationships with our state folks, our state leaders, and our federal leaders, so that they know that there's still gaps and that when there's money, we are out there getting it and bringing it home.
Thank you, Sheila. One last question before we turn to concluding comments. Do you have ideas about ways that we can enhance voter participation in our elections? And what would you do if elected as commissioner this next term to support those efforts? And I think we'll begin with Sheila on this one.
So while the commissioners don't make election law, it's made by the state. I think we certainly can encourage. I think making sure that that leadership is promoted with in high school civics, for example. We have a couple leadership organizations that work on that as well. Making sure that our election board is out there registering people, and that they have the tools and the means to do that would be things that are under the commissioner's control, other than advocating for more participation and easier access. Part of my concern about voting is that we vote in a courthouse. Right now, when you do early voting, in order to get to voting, you have to go past the metal detectors. It's not a very friendly feeling. You've got police officers greeting you, and you have to go through a metal detector. Voting should be much more accessible and user-friendly, so I think that might be something that we could do locally that would help resolve that problem.
Thank you. And Connie, please.
The reality is that we don't have control over that. Can we go out and engage people? Yes, we can, and that's what we all do. I think it doesn't really matter what party you're from. I think we're all out there and we're trying to engage young people, older people, helping people just get out there and vote. That department is ran by another elected official. And I think that no matter how we try to say we're going to get another elected official to do their job or get them to go out and do something else, they are their own elected officials. All we can do is go out and we can rally the troops and try to get them to come in and go ahead and vote.
Thank you, Connie. And I got a reminder that I didn't give you an opportunity to comment on ethics and what you would do to promote ethical conduct in government if you were continuing to serve as commissioner.
Well, I served on the ethics committee, and it was a great experience. It was amazing that when I served on that committee, when we were bringing in the training programs, how many people, it was like really a double-edged sword, and people were, the questions that we would ask, people would really think twice about. I'm very proud that LaPorte County participates in it. I would like to see other entities join it as well. We have a partnership with the Tri-County area, and it would be really nice that if we could get the cities to participate as well and more entities. So I would encourage them to join.
Thank you, Connie. Now, we're going to come to that concluding time, and with the permission of the timekeeper, I'd like to give you a minute and 30 seconds rather than 1 minute, because I'd like you to combine with your concluding comments, make sure you cover why you believe that you are the best candidate for this office of Commissioner District 1 for LaPorte County. So with that, Sheila, would you begin those concluding comments,
Sure.
please?
Happy to do so. My name is Sheila Brilson, and I'm hoping to deserve your support once again. I haven't served for a long time, but I'm here because I care about my community, I care about LaPorte County, and I believe we're at the cusp of some really great times. I have a lot of experience and a lot of wisdom. Over my years in business, in government, in the nonprofit world, I have learned a lot, and I've got a really great skill set. I've been a two-term mayor, a public school teacher, and I'm a nonprofit manager. I worked for a university in community health. I've managed large budgets and been fiscally responsible. I've created capital plans. I built 4 new fire stations, the Michigan City Senior Center, Millennium Plaza, which I got donated to the city for $3, one of my favorite stories to tell. I fought for the casino license, which has over 1,000 jobs, and $580 million have been brought to this community through the development agreements that my team and I negotiated on the taxpayers' behalf. A lot of money doing a lot of good work. I've recruited companies, and that's something that I think we need to really focus on. So economic development is something that I've done. I've gone out when Parco Cookies called me on a Friday and said they were closing in 2 weeks. I didn't wait for them to close. My team and I worked all weekend. On Monday morning, we drove to Ohio to a Nabisco company that was looking for growth. And in 2 weeks, they came to Michigan City, and those folks that were in that plant did not lose their jobs. I've done it before, and I can do it again. Thank you very much.
Now, Connie, with those concluding comments and the reason why you think you're, by golly, the best candidate for County Commissioner District 1.
I'm currently the LaPorte County Commissioner. I have made very good decisions while in office. I, again, would encourage everyone to go out, look at the meetings, and see how I vote. I have a track record. I, as a business owner, I've had to devise my plans. I've had to follow them through. I set my budgets, and I have to stick with it. When you're in county business, you should treat it the same way. You can't expect the county to just go out and bill their taxpayers more money. Just can't do it. We have to prioritize the expenditures that we're doing and stick with it. LaPorte County is a great county to live in. It really is. We have got so many wonderful things here to do. You pick fruit, we have different farms, the locations, we have commercial fishing, we have fine dining, we have family restaurants. This is a great place to attract more people. Economic development is very important, but it's not what we as commissioners do. We have an economic development department who works on that. Them, combined with the commissioners, combined with the council, are what gets new businesses in here. This is something that we have to do together. Each and every one of us can help out. I mean, if you know somebody that is willing to move their company here, you can always contact Economic Development Department and let them know.
Okay, thank you, Connie. And how about a round of applause for these two candidates? Thank you, Connie.